Okay, part 2, ball python breeding, South African version. Alright, let me just adjust this a little bit higher. Okay, so we ended off with talking about temperatures, males, females, size, and whatever. Okay, so this part 2 now, I'm going to discuss the temperatures of how I will start reducing the temperatures. Okay, the first video we covered the size, the age. For me, age doesn't matter, it's all about the size, and so on and so forth. But I'm not going to regurgitate what I've already said. So I will start dropping my temperatures in different stages at different times, building up to the introduction of the males, and then change it when I introduce the males until I see an ovulation, and then change temperatures again. So the temperature thing is something that I play around with before, during, before pairing, while I'm pairing, and then at ovulation, and then I stop pairing again. And I'm going to tell you how I do it. Okay, so because we're simulating the seasons, because out in the wild, a ball python with its natural instinct will breed according to the seasons, and that will be winter. So because they're in a captive bred environment now, we have to simulate those seasons for them. They're not in a termite mound in Africa, where they can hide away in a dark, humid termite mound and eat rodents and cool down if they want to out of the sun, and come out into the sun and bask on a rock or in the veld and get their body temperature up, and then slither back into a dark crevice again, because they are not in the wild. Okay, so we have to change the seasons for them. We have to simulate the changing of the seasons. So what happens when the seasons start changing? When you're going from summer into autumn into winter, everything starts cooling down. Okay, so that's what I do. I gradually bring the temperatures down, and I do it for different amounts of time at different stages during the day and night. And this is how I do it. So from the 1st of May, okay, from the 1st of May, which is roughly a month before I start introducing my males to my females, I will drop the temperatures. Now, you obviously have your temperatures in your racking system, okay? You've got your well, hopefully you are running a racking system with a thermostat and heating, because if you're not, then you're not doing ball python breeding properly. You're not even keeping ball pythons properly unless you've got a heating system and a thermostat. Okay, so that's pretty much basic 101. All right, so if you live like on the equator, all right, and it never changes, then you kind of don't really need to do anything. I know there's some guys that breed completely off the seasons, but they literally in a tropical environment. Okay, so that's very different. It's very humid and so on and so forth. Okay, so but where I am and where I live, and I'm on the coast, and it is still pretty tropical, I still have to have the correct humidity. I have to have hot spots inside the tubs, and there has to be an ambient temperature in the room. Okay, off season, out of season. Okay, and now out of season for me is after the female has laid her eggs. That's out of season, because once the eggs come out of the tubs and they are in the incubator, okay, the incubator is not in here anymore. Okay, it's out, because the incubator only comes in when we start preparing for our first ovulations. Okay, and I have to make more space in this room. I've got to change everything out, and I've got a new incubator that's going to come and take up. It's twice the size of my old incubator. I've got to move some of these tanks out where my retics are. I'm putting the incubator in there because I've got a lot more snakes this season to breed than I had last year. So I've literally quadrupled in size in a year. Excuse me. All right, so off season, out of season, on my racks, the temperature inside on the hotspot is between 31.5 degrees up to 32.5 degrees with a variance of 1 degree Celsius. Okay, so in other words, I try and keep my hot spots as close to 32 degrees as possible on the hotspot. That's me, 32, 32.2, 32.5, 31.5. A minimum of 30 degrees Celsius. Even at 30 degrees Celsius, that's starting to get too cold for me, out of season. And I will start messing around with the thermostats to increase it half a degree, and so on and so forth, okay? But my hotspot at the back of the tub is as close to 32.5 degrees as I can get it, with a maximum, absolute maximum of 33 to 33.5 degrees. If I start seeing 33.5 degrees, I'll start playing around and dropping the temperatures on the thermostats, okay? Don't like it to get hotter than 33 degrees. My sweet spot is 32, 32.5 degrees. That's what I like. Or 31.5 to 32.5 degrees. That is my sweet spot. The ambient temperature of the room will be what the front of your tub is, okay? The snake is going to thermoregulate, okay? So I'm in a room that's got an air conditioner that heats and cools. And my ambient temperature in this room is 27 degrees Celsius. Now that is what I keep the temperature at right throughout the off season, okay? Now, that's the ambient temperature in the room. Summer, autumn, autumn where we are now, spring, and so on and so forth, okay? So that is what it runs at. But for the winter season, for when I want to drop the temperatures to start getting the follicle, females to produce follicles and the males to produce sperm, I will drop both the temperature, the ambient temperature in the room and the temperature on the hotspots, but I will do this in different ways. Right now, the temperature is sitting at 27 degrees and it is going to stay at 27 degrees until the end of this month, until the end of April, because I'm still feeding. The temperatures on the hotspots at the back of the tub are still sitting around 32.5 degrees because I'm still feeding and I want to still feed again still for another 2 months, okay? However, because I want to start introducing my males in June. However, for the month of May, I will reduce the temperatures at night, only at night, and back in the day, I will bring them back up again. So I will simulate how the temperature will drop outside if you are in the wild, okay? So this room will not run at 27 degrees Celsius like it does 24 hours a day at the moment. What I will do is I will drop my ambient temperature in the room down to approximately 24 degrees Celsius. 24, 25 degrees Celsius maximum, closer to 24 degrees Celsius, okay? So that will be a drop of 3 degrees Celsius, okay? 4 degrees Celsius. No, 3 degrees Celsius, really. And I will do that, okay? And I will drop the hotspot temperature in the tub down to 25 degrees, 26 degrees Celsius, okay? And I will do that for the month of May from 9 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning, 9 hours. Okay, you're probably asking yourself, why? I've heard the guys that do it from 6 to 6, 12 hours. 12 hours, that temperature, 12 hours, 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock. I'll tell you why I do it for the month of May for 9 hours and I do it at 9 o'clock at night. Because I'm still feeding. And snakes don't want to eat when it's cold. And I don't want to introduce my males until the 1st of June. Okay? And when I feed at night and I feed from about 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. Because these snakes are nocturnal. So I want it warm inside there. I don't want it cold. I don't want the hot spots cold because they're not going to want to eat, okay? Because I'm going to drop those temperatures in June, okay? And I'm going to, from 6 o'clock to 6 o'clock in June. And I'm not, from June July, they're pretty much not going to eat. So I'm not worried about getting. But when I start feeding at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, I still want that hot spot at 32 degrees Celsius, 32.5 degrees Celsius, because that snake is going to be coming to the front, it's going to be looking for food, it's going to hit the rat when I offer it, and it's going to go back onto the hot spot, and it's going to lie there to digest on the hot spot, okay? But because it's warm, it's eaten. A snake doesn't want to eat when it's cold, okay? So for the month of May, I'm still trying to get size on my females, but I am still trying to develop follicles and sperm. So after I've offered them the rat, and if they've eaten, great, fantastic, I'll come in an hour later and I will adjust my temperatures. This rack here has got a special thermostat on it where it's preset to drop the temperatures. It's got a timer on it. It drops the temperatures automatically at a certain time, and it raises the temperatures up at a certain time. I don't have to fiddle around with this thermostat at all, okay? This rack here. This rack here, I have to manually adjust the thermostats, and this rack here, I have to manually adjust the thermostats. And my breeding males over there, and all of those ones, they have to manually adjust them. Eventually, I'd like to swap over all of my racks to have these. The yearlings don't need it. It's really just for the breeders that you need. That it's just convenient to have. If you've got a massive snake collection and you've got so many racks, it's an absolute baller. Can you imagine having to come now and sit here and drop the temperature 6 degrees, 6 degrees at night, and then come in the morning again and up the temperature again, because that's literally what I had to do last season. This season, for this particular rack, I've got one that does it all for you, okay? This rack I bought last season, so this was my latest edition. These two racks are my latest editions, okay? That one came with its own thermostat, and I'm going to upgrade it to this thermostat. My huge big breeders are in these two racks here. Every single snake in these racks here are all females, and they're all between 3,000 and 4,500 grams. They are massive. Every single female in this rack here are all under 2,500 grams. Okay, everything these are 26 litre tubs. These are 46 litre tubs. So, for the month of May, I will drop the temperatures for 9 hours, okay? And I'll do it at 9 o'clock at night after I've offered a meal, okay? And I will push as hard as I can to get those snakes to carry on eating, and then, because in June they're going to stop. At 6 o'clock in the morning, these racks will kick back up into the temperatures that go back up to the hot spot of 32 degrees, 32.5 degrees Celsius, but I'll have to manually adjust this rack, okay? My ambient temperature in the room, as I said, I'll drop it down to 24 degrees. During the day, I'll bring it back up to 27 degrees Celsius. At night, drop it back down to 24 degrees Celsius. In May. In May, I'll do that from 9 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning. In June, I'll do it from 6 o'clock at night until 6 o'clock in the morning. June, July, and August. Those are your winter months. June, July, and August. 3 months of the year. So for those 3 months, like clockwork, 6 o'clock at night till 6 o'clock in the morning, the hot spots on these tubs will drop down to 25, 26 degrees Celsius. And the ambient temperature in the room will be dropped down to 24 degrees Celsius. And when I get up in the morning, early, I'm up at 5 a.m. in the morning, but at 6 o'clock I come through into the snake room. And now I'm introducing males. Now you must understand, now in June, I'm introducing males. Here's the thing. I do not increase my hot spots back to 32.5 degrees. The maximum that I will let my hot spots get to in the breeding racks and in the males tubs. You must understand that I'm not just talking about the females over here, I'm talking about the males too. Whatever I do to the females, I'm doing to the males, because we need sperm and cooler weather, cool. I mean, you guys, for those of you who are kind of my age, sperm production, you need to have sperm. The colder your nuts are, the more sperm you produce, okay? Snakes don't have nuts, all right? So excuse what I'm trying to say, but it stimulates sperm growth, okay? But it also takes the snakes off food. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a moment. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so I'm simulating winter, okay, June, July, and August, okay, so everything drops for 12 hours, okay, and the males are in with the females, and I will bring my temperatures during the day back up to a maximum of 31.5 degrees Celsius on the hotspot, not 32.5 degrees. I will not risk it because heat kills sperm. Even if the male has inseminated the female, the heat on her hotspot, even if I've taken him out the tub and I put him back in his tub, if her hotspot is too hot, it's going to kill a sperm inside her. Okay? Alright. So, the male temperatures on their hotspots, maximum of 31.5 degrees, but they hover around anywhere between 29.5 and 31.5 degrees Celsius. Minimum 29.5. Same for these. You have to allow for a variance, guys. You're never going to get it exactly 29.5, 30, 31, 31.5 degrees. There's always going to be a bit of a variance. As close to 31.5 degrees let me rephrase that. A maximum of 31.5 degrees Celsius for me. So what I will do is I will try and keep these hotspots at about 31 degrees Celsius. And I have got a temperature gun over here, and I have got a temperature gun over here as a backup. These are your best friends when it comes to breeding ball pythons. Not the thermostats, not what they tell you. These things here tell you what your temperatures are, where the snake is lying. End of story, bottom line. If you don't have one of these and you're breeding ball pythons, you're doing it wrong. Okay, you're doing it wrong. I've got a temperature that says 34.2 degrees Celsius right now. That says 32.7 degrees Celsius. That says 32.1 degrees Celsius. That says 30 degrees. That says 31 degrees. That says 32.2. That says 30.7. That says 35.5 degrees Celsius. That says 34.8 degrees Celsius. That's what the thermostat's telling me, okay? Every single rack is different. I promise you now, I put my temperature gun inside there and we'll be as close to 32 degrees Celsius as possible. Let me see, laser light, okay? One more moment, please don't bite me. (32.5 degrees Celsius). Okay, that, and I take 3 temperature readings. Okay, so what I do is I take left hand back corner, right hand back corner, center. Okay, because it's distributed. Okay, now if I want to take an ambient temperature, that says 27.2 degrees Celsius. I'm willing to bet that with about 0.2, 0.3 of a degree, that's what my ambient temperature is going to be. (28.9), that's strange. 28.6. It's a bit warmer than I expected. 28.9. 28.6. Okay, so I was wrong, 1 degree. Okay, so the good thing though is the snakes can thermoregulate. That's what they'll do. They'll move to the colder part of the tank when they want to feel cooler, and they'll move to the back of the tub when they want to warm up. 27.3. I don't know, maybe that's just because it's a 27.6. Ooh, let's have a look here. Do it. 32 degrees Celsius. 26.8. Okay, so this is better. I think just because these tubs, because they're black, they actually retain the heat a little bit better. So the ambient temperature in the front of these tubs is a little bit It's a little bit warmer than what it says over here, and that's okay. We're good with that. We're good with that. Okay, so this temperature gun stays here, and that temperature gun stays there, and I've got a backup, and no matter where I am, I can always check my temperatures. So I want my temperatures to stay for 3 months, for 3 months, June, July, and August, 31.5 degrees maximum during the day from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. I will then come back in. These ones will already automatically drop down to 25 degrees Celsius. I will manually adjust these ones here to 25 degrees Celsius. And I will leave it like that for 12 hours, and I'll come back in and I will change it back up to the daytime temperature. The temperature in the room, the ambient temperature, will drop down to 24 degrees Celsius. I will then bring it at 6 o'clock in the morning back up to 27 degrees Celsius for June, July, and August to simulate winter. Okay, then 1st of September, okay, what I will do is I will then start increasing the temperatures again, okay, because what that'll do is the changing of the seasons now, going from winter into spring, and that stimulates ovulation. Okay, so the snakes naturally, you don't just do it straight away, you don't just bang up the temperatures, okay, so I'll slowly start increasing the temperatures at night. Okay, so from 25 degrees Celsius on the hotspot, I'll start bringing it up to 28 degrees, 29 degrees, and then get it up to, once I've seen an ovulation, I will stop pairing that male to that female, and I will leave those racks sitting at 31.5 degrees Celsius until the snake has laid eggs. Okay, it will never ever go back to more than 31.5 degrees until that snake has passed eggs. If it's too hot, the eggs will come out as slugs. The sperm will die, she's going to give you slugs, or she'll reabsorb her follicles, or the male won't even inseminate and fertilize those eggs because he's got dead sperm. Okay, so 31.5 degrees, that is it. That is the maximum until that snake lays eggs. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to get slugs, guys. Even if you keep your temperatures perfect, it doesn't mean you're not going to get slugs, okay? It doesn't mean all your eggs are going to survive. It doesn't mean your snakes are even going to go. All right. I was counting on a big season last year. I had a couple of snakes that I was like, this is it. These ones, yeah. I mean, there were like 3 females that I was absolutely counting on. My top 3, then obviously I've got much better stuff now this year, but I put a lot of money into it last year. Okay, I've got snakes that I had last year that are only going to breed for the first time this year, so which is why I've got more snakes to breed. I've also invested a lot more money this year in adult proven breeders, and next year I will have even more. That'll be up to size, because I've got juveniles that I bought that are like high end stuff that's going to breed next year, 2 years old. Okay, but it doesn't necessarily mean, even if you follow all of these steps, what I've told you, you do it down to the letter, if the snake is unhealthy or it's infertile and it's got a problem, you do this is livestock. You do stand a chance of having slugs, dead babies. I had a whole clutch of eggs last year. A female of mine, proven breeder, 5 years old, the year before, healthy clutch of eggs. It's got 7 eggs from her last season. Out of those 7 eggs, 2 were slugs. Shit, terrible, I'm sorry. I was absolutely gutted. I had 5 good viable eggs. I put them in the incubator, and that we're going to cover in video number 3. So there is going to be a part 3. So this is part 2. The setup of the incubator that we covered in another video. Put those eggs in an incubator. In the first 2 weeks, 2 of those eggs started going moldy. And I was like, oh shit. And okay, so I'll talk about that and incubation and the process of what goes on. and I separated those eggs, and those eggs went moldy, and eventually I had to turf them, so I had 3 viable eggs left, and every single one of those, after day 60, I had no pips, and I cut the eggs open, and I had a look inside, and all 3 babies were dead and deformed. And I was absolutely gutted. Out of 7 eggs, I didn't have 1 viable egg. I didn't have 1 live hatchling, and everything was like clockwork. I did everything right. There was nothing, because in the same incubator, in the same rack, I had another female give me perfectly healthy eggs. Nothing was different, nothing was changed. It's just shit happens. Okay, I thought I did something wrong. I was taking photographs of the eggs. I was taking photographs of the babies, sending it to my friends that have been doing this for a lot longer than me, and who are guiding me, encouraging me, and going, what did I do? How did I fuck this up? And they're looking at it and say, you did nothing. Get used to it. This is part of the industry. This is part of what you have to deal with. This is going to happen. You know, you can't help but blame yourself, you know, because you're responsible for these animals. And guys, you know, I was talking to one of my mates today. He's at one of the top guy breeders in South Africa. It doesn't matter if you've got a 500 Rand snake, normal female, ball python, wild type, no genes, or you've got a 50,000 Rand 5 gene recessive, desert ghost, whatever. That snake needs the same care. Okay, you got to look after it the same, you got to feed it the same, you've got to care for it the same. Okay, it's an animal that depends on you for its survival. Okay, so it doesn't matter, oh well, it's a 500 Rand snake, or it's a 1,000 Rand snake, it died. All those hatchlings, they were all wild type, or they were all just like, you know, maybe whatever. It doesn't work that way. Okay, it's a life. I don't give a shit if the snake is 1,000 Rand or the snake is 50,000 Rand. Okay, for me, when I lost, okay, and it was an expensive pairing. Okay, pastel, red stripe, 100% head clown, to Enchi, spider, 100% head exantic VPR. I got red stripes out of it. And when I cut open those eggs, and red stripe is a great gene. And yeah, you know, so, but it wasn't about the money for me. It was just literally about, you know, just something dying while I was under my care. Then it took me like a good week or two to like stop blaming myself for it. Okay, so obviously studied, researched, what did I do wrong, what am I going to do differently this year, and at the end of the day, there's only a few things that I'm going to change. Okay, which I'm going to get into in the next video. Because as I say, there's different ways of breeding that all work. Okay, but there are 1 or 2 things that I'm going to change this year in my breeding season. Okay, so that's the temperature. Let's see where we're sitting on. Half an hour. Fuck me, the time goes. Oh shit, this is YouTube. I'm not editing. Okay guys, that was video number 2. Sorry for the language, please don't flag me. YouTube moderators, if you're watching, it's Sunday, it's been a long day. I'm trying to cover breeding videos and trying to get it all done in one hit, because I've got a hectic week ahead of me. Guys, please stay tuned for part 3, where we're going to discuss part 3. I don't know, as I say, I'm winging it on these videos. There's a part 3, and it's going to include the incubation of the eggs, pairing, and I'll cover genes, genetics, what to pair, and so on and so forth, and how to pair the males to the females, the timeline of how long to leave the males in, so that with the females, and then take them out, and etc, etc. So that's coming up in part 3. Stay tuned for that.